Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Unseen Utterance. As the year draws to a close and the nights grow longer, we thank you for listening to the whispers that linger in the dark. May this holiday season bring you warmth, curiosity, and just enough mystery to keep the shadows alive. In the coming year, may you continue to walk with us beyond the veil where silence speaks and unseen voices tell their stories. Stay curious. Stay in the dark. See you in the next whisper.
The drifting head in Penang's rain. I still remember the day I moved into that guest house like it was yesterday. It was a drizzly afternoon in November last year, during Penang's endless rainy season, when everything felt damp and heavy. The rain pattered on the tin roof, and the air was thick with the smell of wet earth mixed with exhaust from the narrow streets in outer Georgetown. My name is Arif Rahman, 29 years old, working as a delivery rider for a local logistics company. My job is straightforward, zipping around on my beat-up motorcycle from the bustling heart of Georgetown to the quieter suburbs, dropping off everything from groceries to industrial parts. I'm not the superstitious type. I don't believe in ghosts or old wives' tales. In fact, I studied nursing at a college in Butterworth but dropped out after my second year because I couldn't handle the pressure of night shifts at the hospital. Now, I'm just an ordinary guy who likes his black coffee unsweetened, listens to old rock tunes on the road, and tries to get by without overthinking things. I chose this guest house because it was cheap, only 500 ringgit a month, convenient for my roots, and located in outer Georgetown, an old neighborhood that used to be a Chinese settlement from the British colonial days. The building was a classic shophouse style, 3 stories tall, with thick lime-washed walls speckled with age, and an ancient plumbing system snaking through the walls that creaked like it was alive. When I arrived, the landlady Max Salma was waiting at the door, wrapped tightly in a silk scarf around her neck despite the humid heat. She was in her 50s, gaunt and sun-weathered, with a soft but raspy voice, as if her throat had been raw for years. "Welcome, Arif. Your room's on the first floor, right by the street. Here's the key. Make sure to lock up tight at night. This area has petty thieves," she said, her eyes darting away without meeting mine. I figured she was just a cautious older woman, the kind who worries too much. Max Salma lived on the 3rd floor in a private room she never let anyone enter. During the day, she'd sit at the tiny reception desk on the ground floor, reading old newspapers or brewing herbal tea that filled the air with a strange, pungent aroma. There were a few other short-term tenants, a backpacking couple from Australia, a construction worker from Johor, and a young office girl from the city center. They came and went quickly. No one stayed long like I did. I unpacked in my cramped but clean room: a single bed, an old wooden desk, and a private bathroom with a shower that dripped constantly. I hung up a few family photos on the wall to make it feel more like home, even though my family was back in Kedah and we rarely talked. The first few days were uneventful. My deliveries started at dawn, before the sun even rose, weaving through Georgetown's lively streets, where the scents of roti canai and coffee from roadside stalls woke up my senses. I'd get back to the guest house in the late afternoon, shower off the grime, grab dinner at the nearby Nasi Kandar stall, spicy chicken rice that I couldn't get enough of, and crash into bed. The rainy season made everything miserable. Non-stop downpours, humid air that left blankets clammy, and cold gusts sneaking through the window cracks that gave me chills. But I adjusted. From my nursing days, I'm sensitive to smells: blood, antiseptics, body odors. They all stick in my memory. At first, the guest house had familiar scents: curry from the shared kitchen on the 2nd floor, cheap soap from the bathrooms, and the earthy dampness from the tiny backyard. Nothing out of the ordinary, just everyday life in an old neighborhood. But then, little things started creeping in, like rain seeping through a leaky roof. It began with the dripping sound, not from my shower, but from somewhere deep in the walls. At night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep after a long, tiring day on the road, I'd hear it: drip, drip, drip. Irregular, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, like someone's anxious heartbeat. I chalked it up to the old plumbing, maybe a leak between the floors. One morning, I asked Max Salma while she was brewing tea at the desk, "Auntie, is there something wrong with the pipes? I keep hearing dripping all night." She looked up, tightening her scarf around her neck, and replied softly, "It's nothing, dear. Old house, you know. Rain seeps in. Just go to sleep. Don't worry." I nodded and let it go. Work swept me away, but the sound persisted night after night, sometimes mixed with a faint scratching, like fingernails scraping across tile. I told myself it was rats or wind through the cracks. This neighborhood was full of rodents, especially in the rain. Then came the smell. It started faint, only at night when the streetlights dimmed. A light temps, like dried blood, mixed with antiseptic, the metallic rust of iron I knew all too well from hospital shifts. It wafted from the wall cracks, especially on the second floor. The second floor had a narrow hallway, a few empty rooms for short-term guests, and a storage room always locked with an old padlock. Max Salma had mentioned it was for storing ancestral worship items, off-limits to everyone. I didn't care. I'm not into superstitions. I respect Chinese customs, but for me, everything has a scientific explanation. One night, after a late delivery and pouring rain, I got home at 11 p.m., the lights flickering from thunder. I went up to the second floor for water from the shared filter, and the temps hit me hard, like a punch to the nose. I paused, sniffing. It was coming from the storage room door. I tried the handle, but it was locked solid, just a rattle. Weird, I muttered. Maybe a dead animal trapped in there, or clogged drains. I meant to ask Max Salma the next morning, but a rush order made me forget. The flies started appearing oddly too, like a warning I ignored. By day, the guest house was spotless. No insects in sight, but at night, they'd buzz around the neon lights in the hallway, especially near the storage room. They weren't ordinary houseflies, bigger, shiny, black, flying slowly like they were scouting for something. Once, I saw them swarming a stain on the second floor hallway, wall, a dark, sticky smear like old oil, hard to clean off. I wiped it with a wet cloth, but it spread, leaving the tang stronger. Probably machine oil from the pipes, I reasoned, drawing on my science knowledge. I'd studied bacteria and mold in nursing school. Tangy smells could come from organic decay, nothing supernatural. But the odor bothered me, stirring memories of hospital nights handling open wounds, blood everywhere. I started avoiding the second floor when possible, only going up for the shared kitchen. I began losing sleep more often. Delivery work requires sharp focus to avoid accidents on slick roads, but sleepless nights left me exhausted, with dark circles under my eyes. I'd lie in bed, replaying the past. Why I quit nursing after that horrific shift with a car crash victim. Body mangled, the tangy blood smell overwhelming. I threw up right there and walked away from it all. Now, the guest house smell brought it back, making me restless and anxious. I tried self-medicating with herbal tea, soft music, but nothing worked. Max Salma seemed normal, but I noticed she always covered her neck meticulously, even in heat, and she rarely came downstairs at night. Once, in the middle of the night, I heard her mumbling in her third-floor room, raspy and intermittent, like talking to someone or something. I thought she was lonely, maybe chatting with photos of her late family. Then the neighborhood rumors filtered in. This outer suburb was once a thriving Chinese enclave from British colonial times, with cobblestone streets and ancient shophouses, but now it was run down, sparsely populated. I heard from the nasi lemak vendor at the corner, that guest house of Max Salma's, strange stuff. A few years back, a young pregnant woman rented a room, gave birth, then vanished without a trace. Her baby was sickly, anemic. Doctors couldn't figure why. I laughed it off, probing. Really? Probably poor nutrition, but he shook his head. Nah, kids around here get sick often, cry at night, pale skin. Folks say it's haunted. Something about Penanggalan the vampire, which with the detachable head that flies and sucks blood. From kids and new moms. I nodded politely, but I'd read about Penanggalan in school folklore classes. A Malay legend, head separating from body, entrails dangling as it hunts. No way it's real. I figured the kids' illnesses were environmental. Blocked sewers, pollution, vitamin deficiencies. Science explains everything, but things got weirder, like a nightmare slowly unfolding. One night, a sudden blackout hit during a heavy storm, wind howling through the windows like distant cries. I woke to the scratching clearer now, from above, like nails on the ceiling. I grabbed my phone's flashlight, threw on a jacket, and headed to the second floor. The hallway was pitch black, the temps so thick it made me dizzy. And there it was, the storage room door ajar, not locked as usual. A small gap, enough for my light to slip through. My heart pounded, but curiosity won. Maybe Max Salma forgot to lock it, I thought, reassuring myself. I pushed the door gently, shining the light inside. The room was dim and dusty, the floor littered with shattered glass shards glinting in the beam, mixed with sharp dried palm thorns. In the center, a body sat motionless, hands on thighs like it was waiting. No head, just a headless torso, pale skin, in faded pajamas stained here and there. No blood, no rot smell, just that metallic temps overpowering. I panicked, nearly screaming, backing out and slamming the door. Is that a corpse? Did Max Salma kill someone and hide it? My mind raced to crimes I'd read about in papers. From anatomy classes, I knew what a decapitated body looked like, but this, it was off. It sat upright, like it was still alive. I bolted to my room, locked the door, and tossed and turned till dawn. The next morning, I planned to call the police, but hesitated. Maybe it was a mannequin for some weird worship ritual, or antique Chinese stuff. I didn't want to stir trouble and lose my cheap digs, but the smell and scratches nagged at me. I decided to investigate myself. The following night, I waited for another blackout. The power was unreliable in the rain. Up to the second floor, the door ajar again. I entered, gloved up old nursing habit, and shone the light closer. The body was still there, unmoving. The floor a protective trap of glass and thorns. If this is hiding a crime, why the shards? To stop someone from cleaning or touching. With good intentions, I decided to clear it. I figured tidying up might reveal the truth, and I could help if there was a victim. I swept away the glass and thorns, bagging them carefully, avoiding contact with the body. It stayed put. Done. I shut the door, dumped the bag outside, and returned to my room feeling relieved. Tomorrow, I'll confront Max Salma, I thought, and slept soundly for the first time. That night, the guest house was eerily silent. No scratches, no drips, no smell. I slept through till morning, waking late to commotion outside. Police cars parked out front, neighbors whispering. Max Salma was found dead in her third-floor room, door locked from inside, her neck torn open from within, like something clawed out from her throat, blood everywhere. The coroner suggested suicide, but the wound was bizarre, not like a knife. I was stunned, told the cops about the storage room and headless body. They checked, empty, just old junk, floor bare. They dismissed me as hallucinating from chronic insomnia or work stress. Questioned for hours, but no evidence. They let me go with advice to see a shrink. I moved out immediately, renting a small modern apartment in central Georgetown with better security. Work continued, but rumors from the old neighborhood reached me. Newborns crying shrilly at midnight. Doctors diagnosing chronic anemia, no cause found. I tried forgetting, calling it coincidence or bad environment. But in my new place, at night, on the solid concrete ceiling, I spot long streaks, dark and slick like dried entrails, and the familiar temps returns. The faint scratching echoes, like nails on walls. The dripping resumes, but from my ceiling now, I wonder, did my well-meaning cleanup break something? Some ancient rule humans don't understand, and evil doesn't die, just relocates, seeking new prey. Now, I can't sleep, and I question everything around me. Every rainy night in Penang, I stare at the ceiling, wondering if that head is drifting somewhere, waiting.